The Baltimore Ravens are 11-5 on the season. They just beat the Houston Texans 31-2. I get the Texans have been struggling lately, but they were a 9-6 football team coming into this at home, and they only put together 2 points. Now, two of those, of course, came from a safety, so they didn't score in the entirety of this game. Impressive performance by the defense, but I think what's going to be the difference between the Ravens this year versus last is just their offensive firepower. They have so much of it. They are going to be a serious threat to whoever they play in the playoffs. Lamar only threw the ball 15 times, two touchdowns through the air, 168 yards, 11.2 average. You look at that 8 to 9 sort of range, that's elite. Lamar was at 11. Derrick Henry, 27 for 147 and a touchdown on the ground. And Lamar also had a rushing touchdown, 4 for 87, had that 48-yard, of course, breakaway touchdown run where he got up to 22 miles per hour. This Ravens team, the more I watch them, the more I'm impressed. Of course, they were at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, and they took care of business, and then they traveled to Houston, pick up this win. 10 points in the first, 7 in the second, 14 in the third, and of course the fourth quarter, they didn't even bother even trying to that point because they were up so big. Just one of the most impressive performances I've seen all year. I expected this game to be a lot closer. I did think the Ravens would win, but by 29, that is just crazy. CJ Stroud threw it 31 times, 185 yards with that pick, sacked 5 times, was under pressure, but Stroud also missed a lot of just easy throws that he was making routinely last season. Joe Mixon goes 9 for 26 on the ground as a receiver, catches 2 balls for 13 yards. Once again, disappoints me in fantasy, but if you're a Ravens fan, unless you have Mixon in the championship, you don't care about that at all. Can't blame you. Mbunawale, 2 for 12. He came in like towards the second half, and this game was just over, man. The Texans just were completely out of this game, in my opinion, after the first drive where the Ravens just went all the way down and scored. After that, I was like, this game just already feels over, and it was. Mark Andrews, 2 for 68 and a touchdown. Good to see him get going. Ever like that past month, Andrews has been playing very well after a slow start to the season. Also caught a touchdown. The other tight end for this team, Isaiah Likely. Whenever he catches the ball, he seems to just make big plays. Zay Flowers just 31 yards. It's like the one disappointing thing from this game is Zay Flowers only had 2 catches for 31 yards. I know he let a lot of people down, but it is what it is, man. The most important thing is winning these games. Obviously, fantasy and bets are, I mean, they're cool and all, but the Ravens winning a Super Bowl is going to be the biggest thing here. And in terms of what this did for the seeding, this was actually a very big game for seeding because now the Ravens are the 3 seed and the Texans are the 4 seed. Both of them are winning their division. And of course, they will have home field playoff games. But the Ravens, they're going to take on the Chargers. And the Texans are going to take on the Steelers. And although the Steelers, I don't think they're the best team in the world, not to discredit the Ravens win, that was a huge win. I'm just saying the Steelers, I mean, they're just not obviously the same as the Ravens, which is why they're going to come in second. But like the Chargers, I'd rather play the Chargers if I'm Baltimore than the Steelers. It's not a divisional team. It's not even about just having your number. It's just that pass rush for Pittsburgh is just so dangerous. Mike Tomlin as well. I'd rather go up against the Chargers, who are kind of playing with house money at this point. They didn't have high expectations, and here they are. I think the Ravens once again beat them. Baltimore's already played them in, of course, Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium. It was a pretty competitive game. But these two teams are just on different levels. I mean, I like Justin Herbert, but Lamar, Henry, the way this defense is playing under, of course, a fresh defensive coordinator. It's just so impressive. Calvin Noy had another sack in this game. And the Ravens pass rush it's just going to do damage to the Chargers, whose interior completely struggles. The Chargers also just don't have any receivers. Well, I won't say they don't have receivers. Lav McConkey is a stud, but George Pickens, that's just a guy that just keeps you up at night as a defensive coordinator to try to stop him. You don't have to face that now. So I just love the Ravens, of course, being in that 3 seed. To me, it's a big deal, of course, as well. And if you are the 4th seed, I mean, it's just more of a disadvantage. It's not just the matchup, but it's also the next round too, just being that seed. So, like, for example, if the Texans end up beating the Steelers, which they probably will, I mean, the Ravens, we're looking at, okay, well, they don't have to take on the Chiefs now because, hey, look, the Texans are the 4th seed. Congrats. Go play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Now the Ravens, okay, we'll go to Orchard Park, and then we'll get the Chiefs in a rematch of the AFC Championship. So you just don't want to play the Chiefs in the second round. So that's another thing to look at as well. And that's assuming that they win. But even if the Steelers win, they still would have to go to Arrowhead. So that's big. That's being a 3 seeds really really big. And the Bills, I think they're a beatable team. Honestly, I think the Ravens are a better team right now. I've watched a lot of Bills games, and I'm not just saying that because they struggled against the Patriots last week. Just their defense is just not playing at a high level. It's playing at a very low level, especially against teams with a winning record. I don't think they have an answer for Lamar and Henry. And then you got Flowers, Andrews, likely, of course, Bateman as well. We know he's had some moments too, former first round pick. So, yeah, I can't wait for that game. But of course, I'm getting very ahead of myself. I'm just ready for playoff football. I'm a Colts fan, so our season's cooked. We're not going to the playoffs. So, at this point, I'm just ready to start watching these teams play. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Outside of that, let's talk more about this game. So, defensively, the Ravens, they just set the tone early and often, just getting after Stroud. It was 3-and-out just over and over and over again. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans punted 10 times in this. I can pull that up right now. Let's see. Yeah, 6 times. It felt like it was 10 times. I mean, Tommy Towns did 6 punts. That's pretty crazy to think about. I mean, who would have thought that the Texans would have punted 6 times in this game? That's a lot of punts. I mean, normally these top teams, you see a couple of punts, but 6 is just diabolical. Houston, I mean, they're in trouble. The Ravens caught them at the perfect time. Of course, they're still a good team, a lot of talent on that one. But Baltimore, they were rolling ever since their win last week, and they go to Houston. These are just two totally different teams. This is a Super Bowl contender versus a team that just made the playoffs thanks to a weak Mickey Mouse division. And certainly, yeah, the Texans have their injuries, but who doesn't at this point? I just don't think it's very fair to be like, oh, they're dealing with injuries. Everyone's dealing with injuries. If you're 100% healthy, and that's incredible. I don't think anybody's fully healthy to this point. It's December 25th, Christmas Day. So Baltimore, kudos to them for a big time win. In terms of the final game of the year, they play the Browns, don't they? The Ravens? Yeah, they're actually going to be at home against the Browns. So the Ravens, if they go to 11-6 and the Steelers go to 11-6, I believe that Baltimore still wins this division. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, then they will go out there and make sure that they take care of the Browns to secure that third and AFC North title, and they're going to take on the Chargers. Los Angeles, you know what? Here's the thing. So Los Angeles has the Patriots and the Raiders next. The Steelers have the Bengals. I'm not so sure that the Steelers finish as the 5th seed. I think the Chargers actually might end up getting up to the 5th seed, which would be Texans against Chargers, and then Ravens would play the Steelers anyway. But if that's in Baltimore, I don't know, man. I think the Steelers is a tough matchup defensively, but their offense is just flat out terrible. If you guys saw, first of all, the Ravens game, I mean, Russ played well outside of that pick six. He did have that fumble down on the goal line. I don't know, man. I just think the Ravens, to me, it's Ravens and Bills. Whoever wins that game will go to Arrowhead. Somebody has to beat the Chiefs. The only quarterback that's active that's beaten Mahomes in the playoffs is Joe Burrow. And the Bengals aren't making the playoffs. Lamar's got to do it because I think Lamar right now is the MVP. Coming into this week, I would have said Josh Allen, but Lamar, I mean, it'd be just completely ridiculous. I'd have no business making NFL content for a living to say Josh Allen's the MVP. And I love Josh Allen. I actually probably like Josh Allen more than I like Lamar Jackson. But again, you just got to be factual. Lamar has better numbers. The Ravens just look so dangerous right now. And I just love to see them beat the Chiefs. I'm so sick of the Chiefs